The following outline is provided as an overview of and topical guide to Egypt. Egypt is a sovereign country located in eastern North Africa that includes the Sinai Peninsula, a land bridge to Asia, covering an area of about 1,002,450 square kilometers. Egypt borders Libya to the west, Sudan to the south, and Palestine and Israel to the east. Its northern coast borders the Mediterranean Sea, the eastern coast borders the Red Sea. Egypt is famous for its ancient civilization and some of the world's oldest monuments, including the Giza Pyramid Complex with the Great Sphinx, the Step Pyramid at Saqqara, Edfu Temple, Abu Simbel, etc. The southern city of Luxor contains numerous ancient artifacts, such as the Karnak Temple and the Valley of the Kings. Egypt is widely regarded as an important political and cultural nation of the Middle East, as center of the Arab world. Egypt, historically, has been the northern gateway to Africa, with many scientific expeditions organized from Cairo. General reference. Pronunciation. IDPT. Common English country name. Egypt. Official English country name. The Arab Republic of Egypt. Common endonym. MISR. Official endonym. Gumhuriyet Misr Al Arabia. Adjectival. Egyptian. Demonym. Etymology. Name of Egypt. International rankings of Egypt. ISO country codes. e.g. EGY 818. ISO region codes. See ISO 3166-2, e.g. Internet Country Code Top-Level Domain, e.g. Geography of Egypt. Egypt is a country. Location. Egypt is situated within the following regions: Northern Hemisphere and Eastern Hemisphere, Africa, North Africa, Sahara Desert, Middle East Time Zone. Egypt Standard Time, Egypt Daylight Time, April-September. Extreme points of Egypt: high, Mount Catherine 2,629 meters, low, Qattara Depression -133 meters. Land boundaries: 2,665 kilometers. Sudan 1,273 kilometers, Libya 1,115 kilometers, Palestine and Israel 277 kilometers, coastline 2,450 kilometers. Population of Egypt: 88,662,800 people, 15th most populous country. Area of Egypt: 1,002,450 square kilometers, 30th largest country. Atlas of Egypt. Environment of Egypt. Climate of Egypt. Environmental issues in Egypt. Ecoregions of Egypt. Renewable energy in Egypt. Geology of Egypt. National parks of Egypt. Protected areas of Egypt. Wildlife of Egypt. Fauna of Egypt. Birds of Egypt. Mammals of Egypt. Center for Documentation of Cultural and Natural Heritage. Geographic features of Egypt. Deserts of Egypt. Western Desert, Eastern Desert. Glaciers in Egypt: none. Islands of Egypt. Lakes of Egypt. Mountains of Egypt. Volcanoes in Egypt. Rivers of Egypt. Waterfalls of Egypt. Valleys of Egypt. World Heritage Sites in Egypt. Suez Canal. Regions of Egypt. Main article. Regions of Egypt: Nile Valley and Delta. Western Desert. Eastern Desert. Sinai Peninsula. Ecoregions of Egypt. Main article. Ecoregions in Egypt. Administrative divisions of Egypt. Main article. Administrative divisions of Egypt. Governorates of Egypt. Markazes of Egypt. Municipalities of Egypt. Districts of Egypt. Governorates of Egypt. Municipalities of Egypt. Capital of Egypt: Cairo. Demography of Egypt. Main article. Demographics of Egypt. Ethnicities, nationalities, government and politics of Egypt. Main article. Government of Egypt and politics of Egypt. Form of government: semi-presidential republic. Capital of Egypt: Cairo. Elections in Egypt. Political parties in Egypt. Egyptian Revolution of 2011. Branches of the Government of Egypt. Executive branch of the Government of Egypt. Head of State is the President of Egypt. Head of Government is the Prime Minister of Egypt, Cabinet of Egypt, legislative branch of the Government of Egypt, Parliament of Egypt. It was dissolved by the Army of Egypt on the 11th of February 2011. Upper House, Shura Council, Lower House, People's Assembly of Egypt, judicial branch of the Government of Egypt, Supreme Constitutional Court of Egypt, Court of Cassation, Court of Appeal, Court of First Instance, Courts of Limited Jurisdiction, Family Court, Foreign Relations of Egypt, International Organization membership. The Arab Republic of Egypt is a member of. Egypt is one of only 7 UN members which is not a member of the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. Law and Order in Egypt. Main article. Law of Egypt. Capital punishment in Egypt. Constitution of Egypt. Crime in Egypt. Human rights in Egypt. LGBT rights in Egypt. Freedom of religion in Egypt. Law enforcement in Egypt. Emergency law in Egypt. Media of Egypt. Main article. Media of Egypt. Military of Egypt. Main article. Military of Egypt. Command. Commander-in-Chief. Ministry of Defense of Egypt. Forces. Army of Egypt. Navy of Egypt. Air Force of Egypt. Military history of Egypt. Military ranks of Egypt. History of Egypt. Ancient Egypt. List of ancient Egypt topics. Egyptian capitals throughout history. Egyptomania. Military history of Egypt. By period. History of ancient Egypt. 3100 BC to 525 BC. History of Achaemenid Egypt. 525 BC to 332 BC. History of Ptolemaic Egypt. 332 BC to 30 BC. History of Roman Egypt. 30 BC to 639 AD. History of Arab Egypt. 639 to 1517. History of Ottoman Egypt. 1517 to 1805. History of Egypt under the Muhammad Ali dynasty. 1805 to 1882. Muhammad Ali's seizure of power. History of modern Egypt. Since 1882-1919. Egyptian Revolution 1952. Egyptian Revolution 2011. Egyptian Revolution 2013. Egyptian coup d'etat and aftermath. Culture of Egypt. Main article. Culture of Egypt. Egyptians. Architecture of Egypt. Cuisine of Egypt. Festivals in Egypt. Languages of Egypt. Egyptian language. Media in Egypt. National symbols of Egypt. Coat of arms of Egypt. Flag of Egypt. National anthem of Egypt. Prostitution in Egypt. Public holidays in Egypt. Religion in Egypt. Islam in Egypt. Christianity in Egypt. Judaism in Egypt. Hinduism in Egypt. World Heritage Sites in Egypt. Art in Egypt. Art in Egypt. Cinema of Egypt. Literature of Egypt. Music of Egypt. Television in Egypt. Theatre in Egypt. Sports in Egypt. Main article. Sports in Egypt. Egypt at the Olympics. Football in Egypt. Economy and infrastructure of Egypt. Main article. Economy of Egypt. Economic rank by nominal GDP. 52nd. Agriculture in Egypt. Communications in Egypt. Internet in Egypt. Companies of Egypt. Currency of Egypt. Pound ISO 4217. EGP. Energy in Egypt. Oil industry in Egypt. Healthcare in Egypt. Mining in Egypt. National Bank of Egypt. Tourism in Egypt. Transport in Egypt. Airports in Egypt. Highway system of Egypt. Rail transport in Egypt. Water supply and sanitation in Egypt. Education in Egypt. Main article.